just so people know that I'm supposedly out of the 1,000 foot for the letter, but the wells that actually influenced my water well were approximately 2,700 feet away. So these are much further away than what these people are thinking that any activity could occur to ruin my water supply.
My largest frustration is that Pennsylvania Oil and Gas Act says if they drill within 1,000 feet of your water supply, there is something called presumptive liability, where the driller is presumed responsible. If your water goes south, the guilt automatically, if they're that close to your water well, is placed on the driller. And they have to prove that they did not do that. That is not how it works. We have been tasked with proving that it did. So in my situation, there's no doubt. I had the best water in the world. I mean, people would come over, bottle it, take it with them. Everyone loved our water. I loved our water. I don't drink it now. I don't give it to my dog. I don't cook with it, nothing. I have 3 wells drilled within 1,000 feet of my water well. But the gas company, they're not presumed responsible. DEP does their test for their little 18 things. And as long as you don't have those 18 things, which, by the way, none of them are benzene, xylene, like all these things that go along with drilling, they don't test for any of that. They test for their little 18 parameters. And if you don't have those, then they just write you off. And all of a sudden now you are placed with, the burden is on you to prove why your water is contaminated or that it even is, not the driller. That doesn't seem to me like what that law
Well, what do you think the difference is? I mean, they drilled you a well and they won't drill you a well, right?
DEP claims my water's fine.
Yeah, they come in and they do
obviously
their...
was not.
Yeah, they come in and they do their... The tests that they utilize are just solely for indicators of drilling activity, not for the VOCs, not for anything else. So they're looking for the high chlorides, high sodium, high TDS, things that would, which would be associated with, the drilling activity. But I'm not sure when you called.
January. 2009.
Okay.
Which I think it's just obvious. Like when you look at the map of everybody on our hill who has water issues, you see this trend. You see where the wells are, and then you see this swath like this of all the homes that the water is destroyed. So when DEP came to my house, I told them I was dissatisfied with their determination that my water wasn't, of course it's affected. Now maybe it's not frac fluid, I don't know. I don't know what contaminated it. Maybe it's the stripping plant next door. Maybe they dumped something on the hill that got it. I have no idea what it is. I'm not telling you it's fracking fluid. What I'm saying is it wasn't like this before. Now they drill, it is like this, and ironically, if you look around, all my neighbors are like this too. How can my case be different? Obviously they're connected. Like any thinking mind sees this trend. And I said, we have pictures of stuff up on the hill, methanol dripping, drums dripping into the ground, constantly dripping, spills all over the place. Maybe that's what's in there. I don't know. And DEP said to me, well, it could be a lot of things. It could be bacteria. Well, I had just bleached my well. So, and plus everyone else's well is good, so I don't think there's bacteria in my water well destroying the whole street. And he said, well, we are in a drought right now. Okay, people have lived on this hill for a very long time, gone through droughts. Nobody's wells have ever done this. What else did he tell me? Oh, it might be your hot water tank, he told me. Okay, but it's the cold water too, and again, my neighbors' houses. I mean, it's like one person said, this rock, this wasn't here, but the rocks that those little plastic rocks you put over well heads, maybe that's leaching. Maybe he told me maybe my neighbor spilled some paint or some gasoline. You never know. I mean, they're trying to find all of these little reasons why maybe it's not the driller. When, his well goes south in October, they frack in January. In January, my neighbor, all of a sudden, I mean, it's very obvious to any thinking mind what's going on. And if your 18 parameters don't pin it down to fracking, that's fine. Then continue your investigation. You say you will investigate. Testing for 18 things and saying, well, wasn't those, that's not an investigation. You're not finished. Continue.
Also, it was more the fracking that was done on 26 wells. Not all of the wells have been fracked, but that fracking occurred from maybe November 2008 into early 2009. So we're focusing on the January ones. They're just the ones that affected my well. But there was several month period of when the fracking was happening, I think Yvonne's well pump seized up.
We had to
And
replace it.
when was that?
That was over Super Bowl weekend. 'Cause
Yeah.
I was upset about it.
And
Is that where the party was going to be?
Oh
Yeah,
no,
and
but the
this
Steelers
is-
were playing, and I
Yeah.
wanted to see.
Yeah, right.
No, we got it in fast enough, and we were able to see the Steelers game.
Is that just like got backed up with sludge or?
Well, we bleached it. With the first time DEP came out, they said, well, it might be bacteria, bleach your well. Well, okay. I mean, at this point, I'm still thinking they're on my side. Okay, sure, whatever you say, you're the expert. So we bleached our well, and the pump just fried. I mean, it just fried.
also another neighbor right across the street here, just a handful of houses down from Yvonne's. Same thing. Their well seized up.
Then when we pulled that, we put a new pump in. We lost like 20 or 30 feet in our well. It just wouldn't go down anymore. So I don't know what happened there, but we didn't know it. We called a couple people. They said, don't know, never heard of it. So we needed water. It was winter, so we just kind of sealed it all up. We were done. We just cut the pipe. Fine, we're 20 feet lost. And I mentioned it to DEP, and now they claim that I've totally changed my well. And so now they won't even test my water anymore until I put it back to the original depth. Because now anything that they find in there, maybe I did that when I changed the depth of the well. This is getting ridiculous. I think the first time I called them out, it should have been on the driller. I should never have had to bleach anything. I should never have had to do anything to my well. I think presumptive liability, the second they came out, smelled my water, they should have said, yep, okay, let me call Elio, let me call Shriner, whoever that driller, I shouldn't have had to do anything. So now, I'm $1,000 out, a messed up well, and now all of a sudden they don't have to worry about me anymore because of this 20-foot difference. It just seems a little ridiculous.
There was
Yeah, it
also
doesn't sound
a
like
third well pump that went bad too.
Another neighbor.
Yeah.
And how
So
many
there's
hot water
quite
tanks mine went.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
A few other hot
issues.
water tanks.
What would be the cause of that? Like iron? The hot water
Even
tank?
solvents, I think, eating away membranes
Yeah.
or, yeah.
Solvents that they could. Yeah.
Who knows what they stick in there? And again, they don't really have to say
Clean
it.
Drinking Water Act.
Yeah,
They're
that,
exempt from.
yeah, that's just mind-boggling. How can you not have anything on the surface, but yet you can inject anything you want underneath the surface, and that, and not tell anybody. That's
Well,
just
we've
wrong.
said how many times, like if we went over to their house and peed in their well, we'd go to jail. You can't do something like that. But this is...
Yeah, I don't think I'm allowed to inject any chemicals, benzene, toluene, down in my water well to affect my neighbors.
Right.
I think I would get in trouble.
I'm
Right.
pretty sure if you dumped your antifreeze out and somebody and the right person caught you, you could get in trouble.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
unacceptable.
I forget who it was. Somebody had taken a bunch of stuff that they found, because all of this stuff is public knowledge. It's online, a lot of DEP's files and stuff. So our final determinations, they're online. And this one organization had found them and posted it on their website, kind of like a link. And I just happened to be looking through stuff. That's the only reason I found this, and I found a letter about that day that they came to visit my house. And they said that they smelled and tasted the water, which is true. They did smell, and they did actually drink it. They said that they did not smell or taste anything unusual. And that I said I didn't either on that day. Now, I think you know me so far well enough to know I never would have said that because it's not true.
Did
Of
you
course,
sign
why would I
anything?
call? No, why would I call them out there if my water didn't smell and taste funny? That's absurd. Why would I want to waste my time?
That's absurd.
And when they came in, this is when, again, I still thought they kind of were going to help me out. The one guy who tasted the water, he said to me, it's kind of like a musty, metallic. And I said, yes, I got so excited because I thought that's exactly how I would have described it. So that means you taste it, you smell it, now you're going to help me. And then for him to publish on this final determination
Yeah.
that he smelled or tasted nothing. I think so far Steve has been very nice in giving DEP some credit, and give credit where credit's due. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that has not been my experience. They have flat out lied.
Yeah.
They are definitely not on the side of protecting us at all. They will find any way they can to get out of having to do anything for you.
The only reason why they helped me is because it was blatantly obvious that something happened to my well.
That's
Now,
pretty obvious too.
well, it is, but again,
They didn't have a loophole for you.
Yeah, no, they couldn't get out of this one.
Right.
Exactly.
That's right.
And you know, over the years, several years I've been dealing with all this, I've really learned that exactly what Yvonne said. It seems like they will shoot out every excuse. And I understand you need to examine all issues, but don't negate the fact that drilling has occurred. And that's a big factor. Don't just say, well, it's probably this, probably that, probably that. Well, hey, hello. There's drilling activity.
Right. And
Look
that's just
there,
a method
too.
of scientific investigation. If you have some symptoms, some evidence that 5 different things could explain, then what do? You don't just pick one, which is what they're doing. You get more evidence.
You rule them all out.
You rule them all out. You get more evidence. So if I have water that smells funny, and it didn't before and it does now, and you've done this test of 18 parameters, it doesn't prove that nothing happened. That means you get more evidence. You do more testing. They refuse. Yeah, their easy way out, they'll take it every time.
I would like to challenge all the drillers out there and just, you know, be a cut above and establish yourself as one of the better drilling developers out there, and just say, you know what, we do it this way because we don't want to have problems, and it's possible, and it doesn't cost that much more money, and we will follow the law. But the norm seems to be not that. The norm seems to be that, yeah, they have X amount of violations against them, and they still operate. And
there are a couple places locally. I think we would have been thrilled to have them come in and do this drilling.
Yeah.
I mean, good, reputable, good neighbors. They take care of.
Yeah, some of
We would have been more than happy for them to come drill on this hill.
I've heard from some of the, you know, I've read some things from, you know, some of the drillers' standpoint, some of the people supporting the drillers saying, well, there's all these laws that the drillers have to comply with and everything else. And it's like, yeah, that's a true statement, but are they? No, when they get caught, they are.
And are you assuming that they shouldn't have to obey those laws?
Yeah.
And the laws didn't come out of thin air.
Right.
Yeah.
For the most
And
part.
I think DEP, Frida Tarbell, said something, you know, about the violations that they had. This was early on. Were nothing out of the ordinary. I mean, these were all kind of normal. You know, that shouldn't be normal. There shouldn't be any normal violation. There should be, you know, no violations.
Like, what's the normal murder rate for
Yeah.
downtown Pittsburgh?
Yeah. And who's watching over them? Nobody.
Yeah.
You know, it's up to the citizens, or, you know, DEP will investigate if you call them. They will step up.
Mm-hmm.
But if nobody's kind of watching over, and what do we know about drilling activity? We don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know what they're doing wrong or right?
Now, I've run into some, not really stories, but I guess complaints by, you know, citizens that are in the same boat as you guys about trying to hire lawyers. And, you know, they may have gone through 3 or 4 lawyers where they found one that didn't have any ties to the local, you know, the gas company.
Mhm.
Have you guys found that?
You don't want to go with a local lawyer, but yeah, there's definitely, you know, you talk to some of the local lawyers, or even some, you know, out of town, but yeah, they definitely have ties to get, you know, the drillers or in some fashion, or have represented them before. And
As a
stuff
matter
like
of fact, we have a local lawyer that's tied
Hey,
into
Dave.
making money off of this stripper plant.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's one of
He
the
represents
owners.
them, and he's part owner.
Right.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's hard to...
Yeah, we went out of town.